this guy has good info. I want to turn him into a source. Can you guys give me an NTA ROR? You know what they would say? Fuck off.
Yeah.
No, because we're signing off on this illegal alien coming to the United States.
Right.
You process him. So I would have to process him myself. Like, I've done Secret Service details. How the fuck are you going to put a former president of the United States at Rikers Island?
Right.
How are you going to do that? How can you assure safety? You know, misinformation is nothing more than being ahead of the fucking curve.
Right. I know.
It's
all
all
the
it is.
conspiracy theories turn out to be true.
They turn out to be true,
Right.
man.
What has your take been on what we've been seeing over the last 4 years, and how you feeling about the new FBI director?
Yeah.
New Homeland, Kristi Noem, right? It's coming in for Homeland.
Yeah.
Kash Patel, FBI, DOJ, Pam Bondi.
Sure, yeah, I can absolutely comment on that. So what I will say is I know the border intimately. I spent 4 years on the southwest border, Laredo, Texas. I was there catching smugglers from, bringing illegal aliens in, guns out, etc. Money and guns always go south, and obviously illegal aliens and drugs come in.
Yeah.
So what I will say is this. For anyone that wants to sit there and say, oh yeah, Kamala was strict on the border, or Biden, whatever, it's all bullshit. Under Trump, we were sending back all these illegal aliens. When Border Patrol caught them, we would send them back with something called an expedited removal, an ER. Anytime an illegal alien is caught in the United States, they're caught and they're processed through some type of way where they need to be removed. Under Trump, these guys were getting caught with ERs and sent back within 2 weeks. Under Biden administration, they've been getting something called a notice to appear, release on own recognizance,
Yeah.
which is absolutely crazy because just to kind of put things in perspective for you guys, let's say a smuggler brought in illegal aliens and one of these aliens had intimate information on a criminal organization. I wanted to turn him into an informant. I would tell Border Patrol, hey, this guy has good info. I want to turn him into a source. Can you guys give me an NTA ROR? You know what they would say? Fuck off.
Yeah.
No, because we're signing off on this illegal alien coming to the United States.
Right.
You process him. So I would have to process him myself. Now, under the Biden administration, they're basically giving these guys these NTA RORs for nothing. Under the CBP-1 app, letting them come into the country. And what's crazier, the American public needs to know this, when you get put into immigration proceedings, you're not going to see an immigration judge for years.
Right.
You get that paperwork, the EOIR, whatever it may be, you get sent to your city that you're going to go to. God forbid it's not a sanctuary city, which most of the time that's where they go. They get lost in the wind. So the whole, I could go way deeper on immigration. The INA, Title 8 is my thing. Kash Patel, FBI director. I wish he got Attorney General. So the Attorney General is the top law enforcement official in the United States. And the reason why is because they oversee all of the major law enforcement agencies. They oversee the FBI, they oversee the U.S. Marshal Service, DEA, etc. So under DOJ. And most importantly, they oversee the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Yeah.
In the federal system, a lot of people don't know this, federal agents don't have as much ability to make probable cause arrests as local police. Local police pull you over, they smell some weed, I'm taking you to jail.
Yep.
You're drunk, DUI, take you to jail. Feds don't work that way. Feds, I need to call AUSA, Assistant United States Attorney, federal prosecutor, and get concurrence for them to take the case before I do anything. They have very little probable cause arrests, and a lot of people don't know this. That's why when the FBI arrested Luigi Mangione, they had to file something called a criminal complaint to even get an arrest warrant for him to get him in. They couldn't just take him in.
Right.
So with Kash Patel, I like him, but I wish they would put him as AG because he would have more authority. Also, he's a former federal prosecutor.
Yeah.
So he knows the game. So I think someone like that needs more power, and I would have liked to see him as AG. FBI director's cool, but he could do more as AG. Kristi Noem as Homeland Security, to be honest, don't like it.
Yeah.
And the reason why I don't like it is she's a governor. Governors have no idea how Title 8 works at all, which is immigration. It's specifically a federal statute under the INA. I would have liked Homan as the director of DHS. We all know Mayorkas is a huge failure, so I would have liked Homan there because he's a lot more aggressive on stuff. Now, obviously, I know he's the border czar, as they would say, but as a DHS secretary, he's going to have far more authority and latitude to make things happen than being a border czar.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because it's kind of an unofficial title and he doesn't really have the authority to do things. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think people had the same concern with Pam Bondi. She was in AG from a lower level state, but moving up to the AG
Attorney General of the
Attorney
US,
General
yeah.
position. And has she kind of proven herself on some of the issues because she's been reserved to a state? She hasn't fought on a lot of these federal issues
Yes.
that we've been fighting, J6 and all these other issues
absolutely.
for a while. So
It's a whole different game, the
Yeah.
federal system. The state court system, guys, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but it's like a fucking circus
Yeah.
a lot of the times. Disorganized. Look at the current state case going on with the Trump RICO case that they tried to put on him and Giuliani.
Right.
They're going to have to throw that thing out because it was weak, because they did prior. They indicted YSL, the rap group.
Yeah.
And they failed. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. But the state case, it's a fucking kangaroo court. I mean, I won't go into too much more detail than that. But yeah, I would have liked him as Kash Patel as AG. But hey, director of FBI, we'll take it.
yeah, and where are you based out of?
Miami, Florida.
Miami, Florida.
Yeah, we film out of Miami.
And you've had a lot of activity there. You've had Trump there, right? He was right around the
Yeah.
corner from you guys.
Southern District of Florida is for the document case. That's where they prosecuted him from. And I covered all those cases in detail. Honestly, the classified documents case was the strongest case the government had against him.
A lot of people said that.
It was, absolutely. And the reason why, right, people say, oh, well, he could have declassified the documents. So, though that is true, people got to understand national defense information, NDI, doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't matter the classification level. Like, you just can't store it in certain places.
Right.
So, the fact that he had it at Mar-a-Lago and they had a search when they found it, that was bad. But I'm glad that the district judge got rid of it on the technicality that Jack Smith wasn't even in a position to be able to
Yep.
prosecute it properly, because it was complete law for him. So, I'm glad that was the strongest case they had. It got dismissed. Thank God. He's in now. That's what matters. But yeah, that was a case that actually had me concerned because I had done espionage cases before.
Yep.
So I knew how they do these 793 cases.
Yeah, and that one, one was very troubling because they raided his house. And
you know what else too? I read the search warrant. 1,000% informants.
Yeah.
I hope he cleaned house after that.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get a search warrant, a federal search warrant on Mar-a-Lago
Yeah.
unless you have real-time information. I'm talking informant talking to the agent the day the warrant's being signed.
Right.
You got to have real-time information to get a search warrant for a house.
Well, what do you think about the aftermath of all this? So, right, all of these things, we covered all the trials too, and we found egregious problems, all 4 criminal prosecutions and the civil cases, the New York cases,
The
all
New York
of them.
case was a witch hunt. Like, you know, Alvin Bragg campaigned on, we're going to go after Trump. The falsifying business documents, bullshit New York case. They literally took a case that's a misdemeanor. It's almost always charged as a misdemeanor.
Right.
And they went ahead and prosecuted as a felony. Just a lot of problems with that case. The judge, Merchan,
Yeah.
his daughter was getting money and working for Kamala Harris, right? I got to give Laura Loomer credit.
I know.
She went ahead and broke that story.
She
The
crushed
week
that
that
one.
he was supposed to be sentenced, she put that out there and then bought more time.
Yep.
Because there was talks that they were opening up, a bunch of people reported that they were going to open up Rikers Island for him to be jailed. And that's ridiculous. Like, I've done Secret Service details. How the fuck are you going to put a former president of the United States at Rikers Island?
Right.
How are you going to do that? How can you ensure safety?
Well, they're talking about it now after the presidency. Have you been following that? About what the sentencing, and there was just a new filing or new order from the judge. And
Last I checked, it was adjourned, but I don't know.
It was adjourned. Alvin Bragg just came out and filed to request that the case either be terminated right now, like not dismissed. Trump's people want the case dismissed.
Yeah.
So he says you can't do that. You should terminate it, which is totally against the law in New York. Or you should just hold it in abeyance and just have the sentencing after the 4 years in the White House. And there's guys that the liberal commentators are saying that they really want him to do that so they can put him in prison after he exits the White House.
And you know, that's kind of something that's been in the back of my mind is after all this is done,
Yeah.
what are they going to do? I'm hoping the governor can give him a pardon or whatever. I know Eric Adams in New York, I know he's fighting for that pardon. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
He's been taking some pretty right-wing stances lately, especially on immigration in New York City.
Yes,
so,
he has.
Because he got indicted by the FBI, for those that are unaware. He's taking money from the Turkish government.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he suddenly became a little more extra MAGA for these last, because he stopped Trump that
Cancel
party.
me.
Yeah.
Cancel me.
Yeah.
Okay, bro.
You saw him yesterday doing the perp walk with Luigi Mangione.
You know, that was interesting. So I think they struck a deal there. If you notice, no FBI, no feds were there. It was only NYPD.
Okay.
So, and there were NYPD guys there, but they were assigned to the FBI's task force, which it was their Safe Streets task force or violent crime task force that did that case on Luigi Mangione.
Yeah.
I won't get too much in the weeds with that and how the FBI operates. But the long story short is I found it. I think a big reason why the FBI wasn't there was because they have an open case against him.
Yeah.
And they didn't want any feds there. Maybe some task force officers, but other than that, the mayor's there. He's under indictment.
Yeah.
We don't want no feds there.
Yeah.
And the NYPD loves their perp walks. But what I think they did, and I tweeted about this, they immortalized him. They fucking immortalized the guy.
Yeah.
Him walking down there with all those people surrounding him. And people love the guy. Like, you got these crazy leftists that are saying, yeah, their insurance world is terrible, whatever. At the end of the day, an innocent man lost his life. You might not like him for what he does. That's irrelevant. You don't kill somebody to push a political agenda.
Right.
You don't do that. And that's the problem with these fucking radical leftists. They're okay with violence.
Right.
What they did with Nick Fuentes was deplorable.
Right.
I don't give a fuck. You don't have to like the guy, but you're not going to go ahead and show up at someone's house with a crossbow and a gun because you don't like his views. That's what they do on the left. Antifa, BLM, etc. They perpetuate violence. They're scumbags every single time. The FBI needs to go harder on these radical left-wing organizations that are okay with hurting conservatives. Because I tell you this, they go after the conservatives. You ain't going to see no fucking KK rally where they're fucking, doing some stuff and, they're not getting arrested if they do anything violent. The J6ers, they arrested them for walking into a building.
Right.
No violence.
And others got Kamala Harris bailing them out on X, posting to go support these bail funds after they burnt down the precinct.
We're rallying as they're burning down the city of, Minneapolis.
Right.
With the George Floyd riots, aka George Fentanyl. Like, ridiculous, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. Loony world here. And I gotta say, like, as someone that's like a colored individual, like, I'm really speak up about this shit because it's ridiculous how they kind of brainwash the black community. We're victims.
Yeah.
Reparations, all this other shit. Like, okay, so you want people that never enslaved you to pay you for work that you never did?
Yeah.
What? Clown world.
Yeah, and it's changing right now, right? So the last 4 years, we've been living in this clown-ish world and having to survive it. Trump has won.
Yep.
Thank God, man. And so it feels like we're going on offense a little bit.
Yep.
What's looking next for you guys?
Man, as clean as I can be, by the way. We're very critical of a lot of things. I just want freedom of speech back, man. At this point, big tech has worked really hard to censor conservative creators over the past 4 years. We saw this with the cough, jab, right?
And did you guys get hit from some of that?
Yeah. Our biggest thing is being critical of a certain state in the Middle East.
Got it.
We're on your thing, so I'm going to respect that. But yeah, man, I'm a free speech absolutist.
Yeah.
Whether I agree with you or don't, I have a lot of people on the right and left that I may or may not disagree with. I think we need to be able to have these discussions.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone should ever be censored. Outside of obviously inciting speech to hurt someone, we got to take our First Amendment back and obviously our Second Amendment back as well. These, they're trying to take the guns away now from this last shooting, as always.
Yep. And you're right, they are. And you guys are focusing on Rumble, you said a lot.
Yeah, I love Rumble, man. They believe in free speech.
Yep.
I truly do think that's like the space for conservatives. Obviously, we still got to be on YouTube and these mainstream platforms
Yeah.
for the normies. But I think, you know, Rumble is absolutely like the home of the conservative base where we can say what we want to say, because it's been shown over the past 4 years, conservatives have absolutely been far more suppressed than liberals in every fucking way. They did a hit job. The New York Times and the Media Matters worked together to do a hit piece last second, right before the election. They asked Ben Shapiro, Benny Johnson, all these conservative guys, they might have even reached out to you. Oh yeah, are you monetized on YouTube? Blah, blah, blah. Asking all these questions, right? Trying to show that right-wing creators are conspiratorial on certain topics and all this other shit. And it's like in an effort to censor them. That's what they do.
Well, they hit us after January 6th. So we got on YouTube, we got medical misinfo strikes with the jab. We got election misinformation after the election, multiple strikes, not in a row, but you know. And then we got our whole channel demonetized for 9 months.
We're demonetized too.
After January 6th, man.
We're demonetized.
You're still demonetized.
Still been demonetized since August of last year. And you know, and that's what they do. And so it's ridiculous, but you know, you got to fight the fight. Thankfully, we got platforms like Rumble and everything else like that, where we can like, you know, be on YouTube, but still at the same time cut to Rumble when we need to about the real stuff. You know what's interesting? Now, if you talk about the election or you talk about the jab, you don't get a strike anymore.
I know.
Isn't that interesting?
I know. It's funny. How'd that work?
You know, misinformation is nothing more than being ahead of the fucking curve.
Right. I know.
It's
all the conspiracy theories turn out to be true.
They turn out to be true,
man. But they censor us in the meantime because that's their mechanism of control.
It is. Absolutely. And especially if you talk about certain topics, man. So it is what it is.